Welcome everyone to the group. Thank you so much for joining. I'm incredibly thrilled and humbled and totally honored and flabbergasted that all of you spend your time with us. Thank you so much. It's really, I think I'm just thrilled for I think what this year could bring. And yeah, this is the Intelligent Cooperation Group. I'm Allison Duettmann. I'm Foresight's president, and I'm the coordinator of this group. So if there's ever anything that you don't understand, or where you're just like, what the heck are we actually doing here? Then I'm the person to ask. I've been collaborating on a book draft, which is kind of like gives the inspiration for a few of our meetings this year with Mark and Christine. And perhaps Mark and Christine, you want to say a few words about yourselves as well before I launch into more of the intro. Mark, do you want to start? You're muted, I think.
I was indeed. How's my audio?
Great.
Okay. My name is Mark Miller. I'm a Foresight Senior Fellow, and I'm founder and chief scientist of a startup named Agoric. Agoric is doing smart contracts in the cryptocommerce blockchain ecosystem. And the company is named after the Agoric Open Systems papers that Eric Drexler and I wrote in 1988, which are really the first substantive papers about smart contracting. So I've been working on this for a while.
Lovely, and I'm sure many folks here have at least heard of the papers. And I think, Christine, if you want to say a few words about yourself.
Hi, I'm Christine Peterson. Many of you know me already. I am co-founder of Foresight Institute, and I am working with Allison and Mark on the book that inspired this group, and co-author of a couple other books, one on nanotechnology, the other on collaboration.
Okay, lovely. Well, there's just a few more folks that I want to point out to you. And if I'm calling your name, do you quickly just want to pop in and say your fellowship title? Those are our 2021 fellows. You'll be hearing a little bit of them as well throughout the year. They'll be doing their own keynote presentations on their topic that they focus on. And they've been specifically selected for this group because their work is pretty relevant. So I don't know, Kate Sills, if you're already in here, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here. I'm a software engineer at Agoric, working with Mark.
Okay, lovely. Hi, Kate. It's nice to have you on board again. Chris Weber, if you're already here, then feel free to say hi. Chris? Okay, and then let's see if Yasha.
Oh, sorry,
Yasha.
am I audible? Oh, okay.
Hello.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Chris Weber. I'm here because I'm working on distributed federated social networks. I worked on the W3C ActivityPub standard, which connects together. It basically allows anybody to run a social network server and they can communicate with each other. So there's not specifically a centralized system. So I'm very interested in advancing that work, especially in cooperation with many of the ideas in this space.
Lovely. Okay, Yasha, are you here?
Yes. Good morning, here's Yosha. I'm a cognitive scientist and AI researcher. I'm interested in scaling intelligent systems, both inside of the human brain and outside of them.
Lovely. And then Chu Xiao Hu, I'm hoping that I pronounced your name correctly. Are you here?
Hi. Good morning. I'm Xiaohu Zhu from China. I'm the founder of Center for Safe AGI. So my focus is to build an AGI game to help the community to converge on beneficial goals when we pursuing superintelligence.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Jazir, as our final fellow, hi.
Hi, guys. I'm Jazir, the fellow in decentralized market design. I used to be the lead architect at Thorchain, which is now a currently hot cryptocurrency, and I'm now CEO at SifChain, which is the next hot cryptocurrency. And I'm very excited to build decentralized autonomous organizations and then decentralized hive minds.
All right, lovely. Okay, so now you know of a few folks that I want to point out to you who I think we'll be collaborating with closely with Foresight throughout the next year. I think for now, a few more bits of housekeeping. We're recording right now. We'll cut the recording after we've had the intro discussion by Mark, me, and Christine. Then I think, well, I think Mark, Christine, and I are probably thinking of most of the things that we are discussing as more public information, since we're writing a book on it. I would say that, please, before you share anything else that that someone else is discussing, then please just check back in with them if that's okay. Finally, if you want to nominate others to join this group, then please don't just share content of this group with them, but please share the participation form that I shared in this chat, so we can have a little bit of, so we know who all of us are interacting with a little bit. Okay, cool. So the outline of today is going to be in a second 20 minutes discussion of the chapter that we sent out, and a little bit of an intro to what we're doing this year, then a larger group discussion with all of you, hopefully, and then finally an optional social in Gather. Okay, so the purpose of this group is that we'll meet monthly on a monthly basis, and we'll invite those who work on decentralized technologies that advance intelligent cooperation as specific alternatives to current more top-down tech and policy frameworks. And each meeting's keynote is based on a chapter draft, which we send out before the meeting for you to review, maybe augment, and hopefully to spark some discussion. And ultimately, the book really seeks to inspire action. So what we thought is that, well, we're already talking so much about which technologies we ought to support in the book. So why not just get those people about who we're seeking to support in the book in the same room, and let's see if we can accelerate the action part a little bit. So that's all of you, and all of you have been, I think, either invited by Christine, Mark, or me personally. So we're really hoping that this can be a long-term high trust environment. And when you are free to introduce yourself in the chat, or perhaps say so when we launch into the discussion, if you're interested. And ultimately, we really hope that this group really gives you kind of like an idea of how you can perhaps improve on your own work and get some inspiration of the specific topics that we discussed, to get connected to others that do complementary work. And then finally, even if that's more of a high kind of like a higher hanging fruit, is perhaps we can even cooperate on a few projects that really advance cryptocommerce technologies that defend against a few of the future threats that we face, and maybe even to intelligence them. But for now, today we would just want to talk about what's going to kind of like a broad strokes view of the next year, of this year. And rather than, I think, going on the program that I shared in the little bit in the chat that I shared with you here, rather than going through the program one by one, we want to do it via going through the introduction that we send out. So Mark, Christine, and I have a little bit of a conversation now, and to kind of like get an idea of what's ahead. About 20 minutes, then followed by discussion. And we already shared the document. So the chapter number 1, that's the introduction to both the book and the group, already with you. And many of you have already commented. Thank you very much. Those comments are really amazing. We hope we get to them in the discussion. And yeah, so I think without further ado, we can just jump in. I would love to, maybe that will help the discussion along. If you have specific questions to any one of us, just preface them with an @sign. Otherwise, just go for it in the chat, and then we hope that we'll launch into a proper verbal conversation after the little bit of the intro. Okay, great. So based on the introduction, perhaps Christine, you want to start and just pick us up in 2021. What are a few of the positive paths ahead for civilization from here, and then what are perhaps also a few current dynamics that threaten them and make this group rather urgent?
There we go. Yep, I'm back. Yes, so many of you are tracking these already, the good side, right? It's 2021, we could launch with the bad side, but let's start with the good side. The private space industry, right? It's finally happening. The longevity industry is taking off. We've got serious investment, interesting things happening in AI. The developing world has internet access. This should open up great education and employment opportunities for them, finally. Yes, we have environmental problems, but there are great ideas for tackling those. Good things can happen with robotics and drones, additive manufacturing, biotech, brain science is going to be absolutely exploding over the next decade or two. And it's exciting and wonderful, right? So that's all great. if only we could focus on the science and technology and the international cooperation that could potentially happen. The technology's there, right? So, all right, let's look at the other side now. 2021, we've got declining freedom in many parts of the world. We've got increasing physical and online surveillance. We have automated online censorship. We have automated social control systems. All these are driven along by AI increasingly. And the physical technologies can be used negatively too. Obviously, robotics and drones, great for surveillance, great for warfare. All this is leading to increased centralization of power, and in particular, regime entrenchment. It's getting harder and harder for the populace to take over and make a new arrangement for government. So what's pushing back against this? Well, a lot of you are already working on these things. We have encryption, we have blockchain, we have cryptocurrencies. Smart contracts are coming. They can bring more freedom for bits. The question is, how do we spread this to the world of atoms, the physical world? And that's a major topic for the book and for this group.
All right, lovely. Perhaps, Mark, you also want to set the scene a little bit and give like an overall mindset with which you enter the book, and perhaps like a different angle into the year.
Yeah, different angle, but obviously many points of agreements, much alignment. For me, the Steven Pinker's observation that the world has been getting much, much less violent, dramatically less violent in recent times. And as fewer of our interactions with each other are violent, more of our interactions with each other are cooperative. And civilization more and more is that which emerges from our globe-spanning networks of cooperative interaction. And as this has proceeded, the human condition has gotten dramatically better on a large number of dimensions. But the cooperation needed to do that, the cooperation that has resulted in that improvement, is not just simple acts of cooperation, it's complex cooperative arrangements. And these complex cooperative arrangements need a supporting credible infrastructure that supports those structures. So over thousands of years of institutional evolution, a lot of what that has been about is evolving these cooperative arrangements with visible opportunities and risks, and governments, especially modern democratic governments, have given us a taste of the benefits of rule of law. In the modern world, we see both dynamics that aid cooperative arrangements and dynamics that impede them. We've seen both centralizing and decentralizing dynamics. In the physical realm, we have centralized governments, and we've seen a breakdown in rule of law in much of the world recently. But as more and more of our meaningful interactions with each other are in the net, more and more governments in the physical realm based on geographic jurisdictions become irrelevant. When I'm interacting with someone over the net, I usually don't know or care where they are, and they don't know or care where I am. We need to reproduce the infrastructure for supporting complex cooperative arrangements in the digital realm in a jurisdiction-free manner. In the digital realm, we've seen also centralizing dynamics with the internet giants. And the internet giants, with their censorship, with their arbitrary rules, with their arbitrary eviction with no explanation, in many ways, they've shown themselves to not be the place that we should be looking to find the infrastructure needed to support cooperative arrangements. At the same time, we've seen the rise of cryptography and blockchain and smart contracts. And this gives us a genuinely decentralized, genuinely credible, incorruptible in many ways, infrastructure for complex cooperative arrangements of a nature and scale that were previously inconceivable.
To help us tackle that set of questions, we have, starting off with Robin Hanson on value drift and futarchy, vote values but bad beliefs. We'll have Mark Miller on Pareto tropism. We'll have Balaji Srinivasan on the network state. And then we'll tackle more civilization as the human-aligned superintelligence as a topical set with Andrew McAfee on civilizational progress and accelerating its drivers, plus followed by Vernon Smith, who received the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences on mechanisms and opportunities for prosperities. Once we've kind of dealt with that whole section, we can then finally start about how can we open up those spaces. As you already mentioned, the cryptocommerce sector, we're not in an ideal world yet, and may never be, and perhaps hopefully so. But I think what are a few of the specific, let's say, suboptimalities, a few of the collective action problems right now that we are facing as a civilization, and which specific crypto technologies do we think can help us tackle them?
So there are many particular cryptographic arrangements that people talked about. We're going to have Alex Tabarrok in a later session talking about dominant insurance contracts. What a lot of these things are about are collective action problems can be thought of as times when we're all stuck in a situation where there's some other state of the world we would all like to move to, but we can't get there incrementally through separate individual action. And smart contracts give us a whole new technology base for engineering arrangements that can escape from those traps to move simultaneously into better worlds that we would all like to be in. Now, those things themselves have multi-agent traps in them, have various complexities, and that's why it's important to see this as a new technological base for the same kind of messy exploration. And over time, and I think that this is really the crucial thing, is that people have had many fantasies over many decades, over many centuries, of if only society worked in this different way, if only we had this different governance regime, if only we had this different way of operating the rules of an organization, things would be so much better. And most of these experiments have been wrong. Most of them have resulted in disasters. And in the physical realm, these disasters often cost millions of lives. In the digital realm, we have an inherently non-violent playground where these disasters might cause lots of money to be lost, but it's still an affordable experiment. And different experiments with governance in the digital realm, most of them will still be failures because for the same reason that most mutations in biology are fatal. But some of them will succeed, some of them will succeed brilliantly, and a few really important innovations in better forms of governance and better forms of organization can be a tremendous improvement in the world. I'll point in particular to experiments like Robin Hanson's futarchy. I have no idea whether it's viable or not, but I think it's a worthy experiment I'm anxious to see tried.
For the types of crypto innovations that enhance cooperation that we can only kind of touch on now, but that we hope to really get to see in much more depth throughout the year, we'll have blockchain as a source for secure title registries. We'll have cooperative arrangements enabled by zero knowledge proofs with Zuko. We'll have Alex Tabarrok on dominant assurance contracts to innovate our way out of market failures. And then Arthur Breitman will be discussing blockchain governance. In the same set of topics, we'll then take it one step further and discuss how we can more and more evolve toward a mature crypto commerce. And we'll have Brewster Kahle from the Internet Archive start us off with a decentralized web as basis for an emerging crypto commerce. We'll have Primavera de Filippi on Lex Cryptographia, and we'll have Jim Epstein as well joining us. But if we are now kind of transitioned from where do we start to what do we want more of, perhaps Christine, you want to kind of do the flip side of this and just say, okay, what are a few of the things that we may want less of over time, or a few of the dynamics that are dangerous over time that we will have to learn how to defend against?
Sure. So increasingly, I'm hearing this dark joke that these novels, the dystopian novels, 1984, Animal Farm, Brave New World, those were supposed to be warnings, not handbooks. And so this ability to direct monitoring and control of populations, it's getting cheaper and more widely available. It's not just the giant countries doing this now. It can be increasingly popular among the smaller country governments. And so these protest and freedom movements that used to be possible can now be nipped in the bud. Meanwhile, even in the relatively free countries, we're seeing these disinformation campaigns, which can lead voters astray. I'm not sure that that is controlled in election yet, but clearly it's leading in that direction. So separately, it's getting clear that it's getting very hard for us as individuals to protect any private information. It's mostly held by companies or governments with very poor information security. Even if you could trust the companies and governments themselves, they have very bad security. So that means pretty much all of our personal information can be accessed by whoever has the ability, whoever makes the effort to get at it, whether that's unfriendly nation states and over time, potentially smaller entities. And of course, as AI improves, these different sources of information can become merged, and you can already make fake videos. Just think how great these videos and these impersonations of us could potentially become. It sounds like science fiction. Yes, it does. It sounds like really nasty science fiction.
Thank you. And Mark, perhaps you want to pick us up on the computer security angle, and do you want to say a few words perhaps about the SolarWinds attack in 2020, which brought, I think, the point home that we're trying to make in the book?
Yeah. Our civilization today rests on the software infrastructure that my industry has built. And that infrastructure is not just insecure, it's insecurable. It's built on premises that cannot be rescued. And the reason is not that we don't know how to build secure systems. To a large extent, we've known how to build secure systems since the 1970s. Most of what we know today on how to build secure systems was already knowledge that was in place in the 1970s. The problem has been that the market dynamics until recently has been way too friendly to software that has good functionality but lousy security. That companies have put these things out, have competed on time to market and functionality, and because of the new software, when it's put out, is a small fraction of the market, they're not immediately attacked. The economics of that is going to be changing. The SolarWinds attack showed that one attack was able to do significant compromise to the network foundations of 30,000 companies, including many Fortune 500 companies and many critical parts of the government. The reason why we haven't seen tremendous damage follow from that is that these attacks by nation states have been used to gather information, to spy, rather than to disrupt. But the level of intrusion that they've demonstrated, the level of capacity that they've demonstrated, if used to disrupt, would really be enormously damaging. At the same time, even that scale of attack is still bottlenecked on human ingenuity. The attacks are things that people invent, people discover, and then they stockpile. We've seen with the recent DARPA Grand Challenge that we're already past the AI threshold needed to automate these attacks with machine learning combined with static analysis, building systems that can detect vulnerabilities and construct attacks dynamically in the wild while encountering and probing the software that they're trying to discover the vulnerability in. So I want to contrast all of this again with the world of blockchain. In the world of blockchain, when somebody deploys insecure software, hundreds of millions of dollars disappear overnight with no recourse. The winnings in cryptocurrency by the attackers are so tremendous that there's a strong incentive to attack immediately. And the result is that insecure software dies a quick death. In an ecosystem in which the insecure software dies a quick death, that ecosystem is populated by the survivors of that process. So this is all in its infancy, but this gives us, I think, for the first time, a chance of building a full software stack from the foundation to the user that at every level has really significant security.
In terms of who we have to speak to us about what we want less of, and specifically the threats that we have to face sooner, really, than we may wish, we have Daniel Ellsberg, who leaked the Pentagon papers on nuclear risks, doomsday still hiding in plain sight. So that's going to be discussing the defense against automated physical threats. And then later we'll discuss also defense against automated digital threats. And here we have Kate Sills from Agoric on the Agoric approach to computer security. And we'll have David Brin of the Transparent Society with Transparent Society in Surveillance. Once we have kind of like laid the land of what we want less of, we can then discuss what we want more of. But let's maybe for now just put on like the rose-tinted goggles and imagine that we have succeeded and we're now cooperating in a mature crypto commerce, and we can better and better defend against automated physical and digital threats. What can we hope for? So what do we mean specifically in the introduction by when we say we want to intelligize cooperation? And how could this be different to what traditional safety approaches may seek? Mark, do you want to go?
Yeah. On intelligizing cooperation, the way in which artificial intelligence is actually being pursued in the world is quite different than the normal framing of a lot of the AI risks. The actual pursuit of artificial intelligence is many different intelligent systems, each of whom is thrown at certain sets of tasks within the context of an overall civilization whose emergent intelligence is emergent from both human and machine intelligences of humans and institutions cooperating with each other in these vast networks of complex cooperation. And the AI systems are participating very much more like the framing that Eric Drexler has with his comprehensive AI services. They're providing different services. They're not starting out with agency. They're not thinking in terms of taking over the world. Rather, they're each pursuing a set of specialized goals within a framework of an overall civilization of many other things pursuing other goals. So as these things become more and more intelligent, they will continue to find themselves in the situation that we find themselves in, of many different entities pursuing different goals. And my ability to pursue my own goals, most of my opportunities are created by the fact that I'm in a system of other entities pursuing other goals. So, the main thing is to preserve the multipolarity and the diversity and the balance among all of these interests so that all of them feel invested in preserving the framework of voluntarism, because it helps each of them pursue their own goals within such a context.
In terms of how to intelligize our cooperative agreements, we can rely on 4 fantastic folks to join us here and to put some meat to the bones. And in terms of how can we better figure out how we can increasingly cooperate with increasingly intelligent artificial entities. And here we have Chris Carlson talking about toward safe AGI via distributed ledger technology. We'll have Peter Norwick from Google on AI and modern approach, Julian Hatfield from the University of Toronto on incomplete contracts for AI alignment, and then Ali Yahya from Andreessen Horowitz on decentralized autonomous hive minds. Of course, only if we can do that, we can then kind of like take the next step still and think about how we can ensure that human interest is secured in a world in which we increasingly cooperate with entities that are more intelligent than we are. And here we'll discuss space resource distribution, and particularly an example of Inheritance Day for one-time distribution of space resources that are still unclaimed. We'll be discussing how hard it actually is to do property rights in space with David Friedman, and then we'll do legal considerations for commercial space development. And then once we've had that hurdle, I think then we can, really zoom out all the way and focus a little bit more on the long-term dynamics of intelligent games. And here we'll have Andrew Sandberg, who's at Oxford and also Foresight Senior Fellow, discuss the game theory of cooperating with extraterrestrial intelligences and future civilizations. So this is our keynote program for the year. And yeah, I'm hoping you enjoy it.